Welcome to A Slice with Dice, where education meets inspiration and leadership meets real life. I'm Corey Alderdice, Executive Director of the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts. With 2 decades in school leadership, I'll share what I've learned from walking the tightrope between policy and practice, especially when it comes to doing right by gifted students and their futures. Ready to dive in? Here's this week's Slice. When you think about advanced placement math courses, the first images that probably come to mind are AP Calculus and AP Statistics. For years, those have been the 2 main AP offerings in mathematics. One serving the calculus-bound students who often start Algebra I in 8th grade, and the other providing a different kind of rigorous math experience, often for the students on a different track. But this past school year, something new entered the picture. AP Precalculus, and it's already changing how we think about who gets to take advanced math in high school. The College Board rolled it out in the 23-24 academic year, and it wasn't a quiet launch. In fact, AP Precalculus had the largest debut of any AP course in history, with more than 184,000 students worldwide taking the exam in its first year. Now, that's not just a big number for a new offering. It's a signal that schools saw an opportunity and students took it. 76% of those students earned a score of 3 or higher, which, depending on the college, can translate into actual credit toward a degree. What makes this especially exciting is who AP Precalculus is reaching. Compared to AP Calculus AB and AP Statistics, it attracted a higher share of first-generation students, Black students, and Hispanic students, groups that have been historically underrepresented in advanced math courses. 30% of test takers were the first in their families to go to college. The representation of Black students was about 8% and Hispanic students about 23%, both higher than the numbers for other AP math courses. And this wasn't just about the usual calculus-bound 10th graders who've been on the fast track since middle school. AP Pre-Cal showed up in schools of all sizes, in rural and urban settings, and at every level of what the College Board calls High School Challenge, a measure of the barriers students face in their educational environments. Nearly 1 in 5 of the schools offering it were rural, and the distribution was remarkably consistent across high and low opportunity settings. Now, one of the most powerful aspects of AP Precalculus is that it reopens a door that, for many students, has been shut for years. If you didn't take Algebra I in middle school, the traditional math sequence made it nearly impossible to get to AP Calculus before graduation. You could still take Precalculus, but it would happen in your senior year, and there'd be no runway left to move into calculus, and AP Precal changes that. For younger students, taking AP Precal as a sophomore or junior positions them to take AP Calculus the very next year, and the early data shows that's exactly what's happening. 60% of students who took AP Precal before 12th grade went on to AP Calculus in the next year. And for students who were new to AP entirely, the course became a springboard. Nearly half went on to calculus. 62% took another AP STEM course, and 70% took at least one other AP course in any subject. Now, for seniors, AP Precal works differently. It becomes a capstone, a way to finish high school with a rigorous college-level math experience, even if they started on a slower track or didn't see themselves as math people until later in their academic journey. More than half of the seniors who took AP Precal had never taken another AP STEM course. For them, this wasn't just a continuation of a math pathway. It was a new doorstep into STEM that they might have never walked through otherwise. Now, teacher feedback adds another layer to this story. 93% of AP Precal teachers said they'd recommend it to others, with nearly half giving it the highest possible rating. They talked about how well-designed the course is, how it sequences concepts, how it deepens understanding beyond the traditional pre-cal curriculum, and how it genuinely prepares students for the next level. Many also noted how accessible it was to a wide range of students without sacrificing rigor. And some were candid. It's challenging to teach, but deeply rewarding. One teacher even summed it up by saying, "I love the way AP Precalculus sets students up for success in calculus." Now, it's worth noting that AP Precal doesn't just serve the already accelerated. It's a bridge for those who might have been left behind by the old system, or students who didn't have early access to Algebra I and geometry, or who only discovered an interest in STEM in their junior year. The message here is that your starting point doesn't have to determine your finish line. With AP Precal, a late start doesn't mean you're off track. As we look at the first year's results, the big takeaway is that this isn't just a new AP course, it's actually a structural change to the math pipeline. It offers schools more flexibility, gives students more on-ramps to advanced math, and starts to chip away at the rigid sequencing that has defined high school mathematics for decades. The long-term question, then, and it's one worth following, is what happens next for these students? Will they persist in STEM majors at higher rates? Will they use the credit to accelerate in college or to avoid remedial coursework altogether? The College Board plans to track those outcomes, but even now, it's clear AP Precalculus is doing more than filling a slot on a course catalog. It's expanding the definition of who gets to do advanced math in high school, and even when. And that's a development worth celebrating, not because of the record-breaking participation numbers, but because of the new possibilities it creates for students who might have been told at some point that the math train had already left the station. AP Precalculus is proof that you can still catch that train, and in many cases, it might even be where the tracks lead. A Slice with Dice is a production of Aldercube. Thanks for making time to reflect with me. If you're finding value in these episodes, I hope you'll subscribe and help spread the word. Until next week, lead boldly, listen closely, and keep pushing forward. I'll see you then.